And Wayne has a 50% win record against the guy. In games. But 5-4 in matches. Or 4-5, I guess. So, you might think to yourself, what is this European Zerg doing on the North American Open Cup against this amazing Korean Zerg? And the answer is maybe winning. In the bottom right of Golden Aura, it is Dark. In the top left, we have Wayne. Now, I do expect Dark to win because it just seems like an easy bet. But seriously, Wayne and a ZvZ, pretty scary. I think they both have a lot of similar qualities, which can turn this into an even more coin-flippy matchup in which, you know, some Zerg certainly express frustration. It's one of our least played matchups. Definitely a different phase of life here in StarCraft 2. If you're coming in from a time machine gone wrong, and you step out and you're like, hey, how many ZvZs you watched in the last month? And the guy responds back with like 1. And the guy turns to his friend and is like, I have no fucking idea what time we're in. Yeah, because it's very different than it was 6 years ago. ZvZ does not get played very often. And so that also contributes to a rather coin flippy situation because no one's really practicing with each other, because if they do, then they show each other their build, so they don't practice, they don't know what they're practicing with, and they're both, some people are even kind of just like flying by the seat of their pants apparently, and then you add in the mixture of two people who maybe aren't mechanically the best, and this has been basically proven, is that Dark's really not mechanically the best, but very aggressive, very tenacious, and really do whatever the hell they want. You get a rather back and forth situation. That's why I would believe this to be 50-50. I'd love to say it's because Wayne is an equal player to Dark in all aspects, but he's not. And I don't think that's crazy for me to say. I don't think I'm being rude. He's just not. Wayne doesn't have as many accolades. Wayne doesn't have as high of a win record in the other matchups. He hasn't gotten as far in tournaments. He hasn't even played as long as Dark, you know, so on and so forth. So to me, it's just because of the way they are and the way the matchup is currently. Now, the new maps might add a little bit of a twist to ZvZ, but I honestly couldn't tell you what twist. All right. I tried very, very hard 8 months ago to get a read on ZvZ for the last patch in the last new maps. And this is where I learned how often the Zerg players aren't playing ZvZ and how much they almost purposely try not to. Because then, you know, Lambo reveals the secrets of Cyril, reveals the secrets of Laser, and it's like this little trifecta that goes on, and Wayne comes in, throws a wrench into things, and yeah. But they could tell me at least, you know, well, there's that lack of moon aura. That was our Intermap Pool 2 maps ago, so there's no, like, hidden base shenanigans. But then we have 2 maps that have gold bases, so does that add anything weird to it? You know, what maps have better Overlord coverage along the main attack points can be another conversation. What gases are easier to see? Third bases are easier to see, I guess, but I'm not really sure. 2 players did open up slightly differently, but nothing to be super aggressive in the early game, so I kind of skipped over it. But we have definitely reached a point that is concerning now, which is that Wayne has managed to grab quite a lead of drones. He's been ahead almost this entire time. Now it's not much, as Dark bounces back as well. They're both doing very similar builds too. But still, that's going to add up a little bit. If they're both doing the exact same thing, but someone has 200 extra minerals in their pocket, well, then they are ahead. They both are doing the same thing, as in 2 base wall-offs into roaches with +1 missile on the way. But keep in mind that they don't know that this is actually what the other person is doing. They don't know that they don't know that they don't know. ZvZ. Because the amount of possibilities behind this wall could be +1 melee. 50 lings are being stacked up in the main base for all you know. Could be fast muta. Could be a Nidus Worm. Could be a slow draw into the 3rd base, and then, you know, a little macro game, gentleman's agreement, whatever, man. It could be a bunch of speedlings and roaches, and you cancel all those upgrades you never got a lair in the first place. They don't know. What's that guy's Norman Rockwell in Galaxy Quest? So they're gonna open up the airlock, and he's like, is there air? You don't know. Now they do, because they both got lairs, so they're gonna build overseers. But still, for a long time, they didn't. It is going to be Wayne scouting first. Dark should be able to get the scout as well, though. Already did, in fact. That's why his overseer is already moving on. Is Norman Rockwell is the painter, isn't it? Sam Rockwell, is that that's his name? I was like, that doesn't sound right. Whatever, man, whatever. It was close enough. The point is, Spire's on the way for Wayne. Dark is not going to go for a Spire. Scouting it, very important. But it does sometimes depend on when you scout it. Can you actually make the move to attack the person going for a Spire? In this case, I think he absolutely can. The timing is pretty close to being done for +1 missile and roach speed, and he could bust out a bunch of roaches. Now, he knows that Wayne knows that he knows about the Spire. So he might be kind of wary of Wayne even canceling the Spire, which I don't think happens too often, to be fair, but they could not build out of the Spire. It's 200 in a drone, so it's, you know, it's an investment, but if they don't build from it, they could have a close enough number of roaches to combat you with defender's advantage. Or they could actually be going for a Spire, in which case attacking them is absolutely the right call. And Dark is going to go ahead and attack. I mean, this just lined up so perfectly for him. The fact that he was able to scout this and make that decision with plenty of time to think things through really adds a lot as well. Now, the Roaches of Dark will eventually be cleaned up enough for Wayne to body block some Broodlings helping out with, apparently, if you didn't see, Broodlings from the buildings of Zerg got the Broodling Broodlord nerf. So that's fun. That's another bug added to the list, guys. Someone's got to keep track of this, right? But Wayne did lose his third hatchery. So Dark might consider that a win, but you can't really be too dependent on that in this type of matchup here. This would be a lot different if Dark actually did get into every nook and cranny of Wayne's 3 bases and killed a bunch of drones as well. Then probably Dark is winning. But Wayne sacrificed the third hatch in order to save his drones. So the third hatch is coming back up. It's definitely a dip in his economy. You can see the numbers right here. He's not doing as well as Dark, but the mutas are going to give him map control. They're going to stop another further attempt to attack until more anti-air is out. Which, by the way, I was typing on Reddit furiously about the Infestor and about ZvZ, coincidentally enough. One of the reasons that I've read, not from freaking Balance Council, because communication's not there, but from people guessing, is that the Infestor change and the Hydra change were more about the ZvZ. I believe the Hydra change actually noted ZvZ mutas as a problem, but the Infestor change didn't. But the Infestor and Hydra kind of combined together and make a more passable, like, period of, you know, the gap between when you have Hydras in high enough numbers or Vipers and Roaches and just plain Roaches. There's that gap, right? That Infestors would fit the initial amount of Hydras might fit, but then you might still get overwhelmed. But the Infestors no longer need the upgrade, so they're also like cheaper to get their fungal. So you can deal with faster mutas a little bit better, and then the Hydras also with their upgrades are a little bit cheaper and faster to produce. Those initial Hydras are a little bit more effective. You still need a certain number though. Now, mutas are going to go and dive into the main base, but that will leave a weakness back on Wayne's home. Something that he has picked up on, but the mutas reinforcing are not going to be enough to stop Dark from doing a tremendous amount of damage. Dark just not even really calling his bluff, just it was probably waiting for the moment in which the mutas tried to strike hard and fast, break through the attempted wall there from Wayne, which is better than nothing. Loses the Roachborn in the process, by the way. Only Spire production at this point in time, and Lings, I guess. It'd be better than nothing. But drones are going down, actually on both sides, because Wayne's own Roaches go for the counter attack. Didn't even realize he still had so many, and things are definitely topsy-turvy. Wayne still technically on 3 bases. Saving the natural might not be a possibility. However, no, that is going to go down. Meanwhile, Dark loses so many drones as well, but keeps his 3 hatcheries alive. Reinforcements going down, however, for Dark, whereas Wayne reinforcements, obviously they're flying. They don't go down here, so I have no idea what is actually going to lie. Roach Burrow did come into effect at some point. Wayne realized that. Building an Overseer at this point, that's only going to do so much, and apparently Wayne still even has enough Roaches to one-shot drones still left over. This might still work out for Wayne. Mutas are such an amazing thing to have in this low econ scenario because they don't die. They might not be able to do everything possible. They can't be offensive and defensive at the same time, but they don't die. And actually, in a game like this, they might well be defensive and offensive, you might be able to split that mute account in half and still do some good work. I think Dark lost out on this one. Only because Wayne's own roaches did this attack. If Wayne had kept his, I don't even know how many roaches that was, probably like 20 or less. Yeah, less than that, I think, because he lost so many on the initial defense. So probably like 15 roaches, right? Like 15 roaches would not have really stopped the amount of roaches that Dark threw across the map. It would have been a blip, much like the Roach Warren snipe. But doing what they did, that made sure that Wayne just won game 1 there. In the top right of Equilibrium, it is Doc, down a game. In the top left, it is Wayne looking to even up the series score between him and Dark and taking advantage on the game score. Again, they are perfectly split, 12 and 12 across their history together in games, 5 and 4 in matches favoring Dark. And Wayne is looking at that. And he's like, yeah, is it though? Is it? 1 away in a bloody, volatile matchup on a brand new map that does, in fact, include Gold Base with Rich Vespian Geyser. Again, they are both so similar that I don't know what's going to happen. Both of them could abuse this. I really would say that they are equivalent in styles, I guess. It's just that Wayne doesn't make as much of an appearance. He doesn't get as far. Dark adding a little bit more, I suppose, oomph to some of the check boxes, you know. If Dark is, I like to say that he's a 9 out of 10 in basically everything, and like a 10 out of 10 in comeback potential. But he's basically almost perfect, but not quite. Or maybe some other Zergs are like a 10 out of 10 in 3 categories, but then more of like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in 3 other categories. Dark's like 9 out of 10. Maybe mechanically is actually one of his worst qualities. Sure, you could definitely say that. But anyway, Wayne's probably more like across the board, like 6 or 7. And I don't mean to be rude. It's just the way that it's panned out here. Dark with such an experience in StarCraft 2, especially being in Korea. Obviously, trial by fire. You know, you got to be good in that scene. To have survived for 13 years in that scene. Whereas Wayne, again, coming in a little bit later, and then the European scene only recently, in the last 5 years, having picked up to be one of the best. Just the way that it is. And when I say 6 or 7, I do, of course, mean comparing all those who would call themselves a pro gamer. I'm not saying that that Wayne is dangerously close to a 5 out of 10, which is like diamond or something. I think, no, that's not what I'm talking about. As far as the pro gamers go, pushing to that absolute upper limit of StarCraft 2, Wayne just hasn't done it. Not as much as Dark. So, in ZvZ, I think it's all fair. Their playstyles are so similar. Their mechanics are probably similar as well enough that I again, Dark's mechanics don't seem to be a strong suit. And same for Wayne, although I think we've noted it less. There's just some moments where Dark is winning a game against like a Clem. And you're like, oh, but he supply blocked for 5 minutes. Oh God, how did he win? I don't know. But in ZvZ, Wayne certainly can match Dark. This I 100% believe, and not just because of the statistics. The way they play matches up against each other so well. Craziness that is possible between these two. Flip a coin. Heads or tails. 50% over the course of an average, blah, 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 blah. That's Wayne and Dark. Wayne has gone for the gold base, Dark going for a typical third base, but then Ling flooding, and he does absolutely intend to go for an attack. No, actually, maybe, well, not really. So there's Ling flooding without a Baneling nest, just to provide that map presence, and then there's Ling flooding with Banelings, and you can't commit to this, something that Wayne's gonna have to be wary of. Wayne's gonna see no more flooding Lings, however, with this Overlord, and determine that this was not gonna be, it's not gonna be a problem. Which also means that Dark isn't going to be able to stop this gold base from getting up and running. At least not with this particular Ling Baneling attack. What's more concerning, however, is that Dark... Wait, no, that's not Dark. Wait, that's Wayne. Wayne is going to go, oh, well, this is a typical thing to do, isn't it? Gold bases are so much more often aggressive than they are just pure macro. You know, for an obvious reason, because you don't have to build as many drones. You can get aggressing much earlier on. But it just always surprises me. I'm always like, oh yeah, oh right, he's just gonna all in anyway. And that's something that Wayne could do. Wayne is a roach warren. They built it to make lings, transferred his drones, and now he's building those roaches. This is something that Dark really has to be wary of. Wayne's ling gets into the main base and is going to see no sign of real macro, I guess is the way to put it. He doesn't see an evolution chamber, a roach warren, or a lair. So this is Wayne probably getting the best opportunity to 2-0 Dark that he's ever going to have, because just by the nature of their production capabilities, Wayne is favored here. He has roaches and lings, whereas Dark only has lings and banelings, although the baneling did just hit a tremendous amount of Wayne's lings. Only roaches will take care of a lot of lings, but they can't catch up to them is the problem. And Queen's gonna go down here. A couple of drones gonna go down. Gold base under trouble. All the banelings coming over here to be used, though. You got to be careful about how much armor you have left over. Excellent shot. 13 drones in total. 14, actually, as all is said and done. But Dark now has to worry about that army supply lead. That's what I was getting to. Dark just put all of his aggressive units in an attack in which they were suicidal. They all died. His reinforcements are here, and they're going around the tasteless secret hallway of 2023 to try and get some serious run-by damage. But Wayne is looking for the attack. He's looking to cut the head off the snake right here, right now. Single spine curl about halfway done. Queen's bunched up. Lings and banelings, the only line of defense for Dark at this current point in time. But it might be enough. Wayne needs a couple of banelings to wash off these lings, allow the roaches to do the job. But all of his lings, all of his reinforcements are dealing with the Dark run-by. Dark now in a spectacular lead, up by twice the amount of workers as Wayne, and starting to build his own roaches. Spinecrawler in play, a couple of transfuses from the Queens at this point in time. Wayne is now in a whole heck of a lot of trouble. He needed those lings to pair up with his roaches, and then he actually had a chance. But everything combined together should give Dark a wonderful opportunity to defend. Single baneling is the current problem. And then the next problem are the roaches. Yeah, the baneling expends itself, that's fine. But then Dark has roaches on the way. Again, transfuses, although his queens are off of creep, so some of them can't transfuse. But it doesn't matter. Dark is going to hold. And we're going into a game 3. And now we are all tied up, getting into game number 3, which is going to be on Alcyone. Oh, God. Alcyone. Oh, jeez. This is why I'll never cast the finals again, guys. Because if this map is in the grand final game 7, and I have to shout at the top of my lungs this map name that I'll never memorize, it's going to be embarrassing. In the bottom left is Dark. Top right, it's Wayne. You heard it here first, then we're going to cast grand finals again. The real reason why Tasteless and Artosis cast all the finals. Pool first coming down for Wayne. And not just a pool first, but a very quick pool first as well, of course. That's the main difference here, because he went for a slightly faster one, I believe, in game 1. Didn't end up really doing much with it immediately. Ripple effect the rest of the game, I suppose. But this is definitely a early pool. Dark is going to have some lings right up in his base. Right on up there. And he is going for the, well, typical Zerg build. Of which most defenses against a 12 pool are made. Keep that in mind. Let's see if he does it correctly. They both are working at a ping disadvantage. I don't know what server exactly this is on. This is on Central. Figured it out. Which supposedly favors... I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but I have heard some Europeans kind of complain that the ping from them to Central is much worse than Koreans to Central. So even it's West Central, or something along those lines. So Europeans have definitely had a... They've mentioned that it's not really favored to them at any point, but regardless, the point is they're both working against ping here. Micro is going to be a little difficult to do. Usually more difficult on the side of the person who's purely using workers. So this is what Wayne's maybe hoping to take advantage of. But not only that, he's just an aggressive Zerg. Dark is probably equally as capable of 12 pulling, no matter the situation. Again, flip a coin. Whoever wins. You can flip a coin for wins as well as builds. Like, who's going to be cheesy today? Like... The drones have been pulled. Let's see the micro. Using the pocket of the mineral line to do good work here so far. That's a pretty low hatchery, but the lings of Dark will finally pop. However, into the awaiting arms of the lings, they don't get surrounded. Now the drones and the Lings together looking for this round on Wayne. They kind of get one a little bit, but Dark also loses 2 drones. That's probably bare minimum of what Wayne wants to get. He really would have liked to have done a little bit more. Basically 2 more drones, would have been happy with that. And then you add in the loss of mining time, and then the 12 pool starts to feel a little bit better about the situation. But that was 3 drones in total at the end, which... yeah, still minimum, I would say. And the worst thing about this is that Wayne misrallied his Overlord. It is going to die. No saving it at this point in time. So that's the worst thing. He just misrallied it, plain and simple. It was way too close to the hatchery. And that's Wayne's problem at this point. If he was able to stabilize based off the lost mining time and the drone kills, losing 100 mineral Overlord and being supply blocked for that period of time is pretty horrendous. We're talking about very small numbers impacting the rest of the game here. The first 3 minutes, everything matters. Obviously, it's not so much that Dark now just goes la-di-da, I've won game 3. Wayne can still do a lot of things to recover, take bigger risks, and be rewarded for them. Could be aggressive when Dark's not expecting it, or vice versa. Of course, Dark could still get an easy win off of this, but we'll see. Speed is on the way for Wayne. Dark is only now up to 100 gas. Still mining it. Not getting speed. Okay, he is going to get speed. And it looks like with both of them going to evolution chambers, they are at least going to pose as if they're getting +1 missile and going into the next stage of ZvZ. If they're actually doing that is another question. Dark might be adding on these potential, speedlings, eventual speedlings. Gonna take a little while to gain that map control, and then behind it go for a Roach Warren. Actually, what Wayne seems to be doing... oh no, Wayne's not doing that. He's going to go for +1 Carapace. You cannot tell what's upgrading in the evolution chamber. If only you could. Now with the +1 Carapace, it's going to turn into an all-in at some point. But what I was trying to say is that, yeah, you can see people flood Lings with a wave of larvae. Take map control, apply a little pressure, do a little bit of scouting too, and then get a Roach Warren, and they skip the baneling process, basically, which happens a decent bit, I would say, in the pro games. +1 missile, certainly a more macro-looking approach. This would be even kind of the bread and butter ZvZ. Oh, the speed is so much later for Dark. Oh no, he miscalculated this. I wonder if he even thought that Wayne wasn't going to go for speed, which can be a follow-up to a 12 pool. Although generally not with a third base out, which actually Dark didn't scout, so that's maybe because he saw the wall. Well, that's causing some problems. Speed does finish up for Dark, but he lost a good amount of Lings after really not building all that many, too. So now he's having to flood Lings. Now this, eventually will be okay, but I don't know about this. Wayne looking for the battle. I mean, he would have gotten that third hatchery almost no problem, but now looking for the battle, he might not even win it. The Queens are helping out the Transfuse as well, and Dark's reinforcement's clearly faster. Might have been better for Wayne to go for the third hatch snipe and then try to skedaddle with probably half of his Lings. Not the worst time to start lagging, but not the best either. Very unfortunate for our Australian caster. Womp womp. Happens to the best of us. And we're back. So Wayne, just with an unsuccessful attempt to snowball, didn't kill the third hatch either, and still remains down in drones, something that he's not going to fix anytime soon. Wayne was setting up for an all-in with that +1 Carapace, which is great and all. It'll affect both his Roaches and his Lings, but he's going to be down 6 workers, attacking into someone who's also building army. Dark might start the drone up again, thinking that the game is going to lead into a macro game. This is why he's getting some scouting right now. He sees there's no drones in the third. That's enough of a tell. Wayne's already pretty screwed, actually. If he could have convinced Dark on... this is the thing, though, is that he would unknowingly convince Dark. He doesn't know what Dark's doing. He's still hoping to catch Dark by surprise. He's hoping that there wasn't a lot of army made, and that his arrival on Dark's side of the map would still hit fast enough to really do wonders. But the only thing that Dark is really invested into that's not going to be helpful is the lair, which I just don't think is going to be enough. The army supply is even. The upgrades are kind of even. You basically say it just because we're so roach focused at this point. A +1 missile helping out against the Lings. Although they have Carapace, I mean, if it was a smaller number of roaches and more about the Lings being pumped out for the defensive side of things, I'd be a little worried for Dark, but it's not. He will not be overrun. Thank you, Cranky Ducklings, for the raid. The Lings might still be able to get a Surrounds, which is the best situation possible at this point for Wayne. Surround plus Corrosive Bile will be good enough. Maybe. But as far as their actual overwhelming numbers, you know, just tanking the shots of the roaches, getting individual surrounds, I don't have a lot of faith in it. Doorstep, this could still work, maybe. Now Wayne is up 30 army supply. It's mostly Lings, but let's see what happens here. There's the surround on the right side of the roaches. Corrosive Bile hitting everything there. Left side a little bit as well. And Wayne might still be able to do this. Another surround and another Corrosive Bile, and that is it. Dark, no GG. Oh my god. Oh my god. Seriously though, that's like Wayne just he just doubled down on the all-in. This is something that Dark would do, which is so funny about it. Dark would also do the same thing. But Dark thought he went back to home the macro and play out a desperate ZvZ. So he's getting Aspire, he's getting +2 missile, he's getting Roach speed. Oh my good lord. Oh. Oh. GG's. Wayne moves on.